mean, I had several conversations with different people about different things, the 4 kid thing, the finance thing. But this one conversation I had with someone who actually wasn't even a longtime friend, someone I just met, talked to me about his experience, an Indian guy, his experience of, with Indian culture, you date within your culture. Even within Indian culture, there's subcultures that you don't date out of that, you marry within those things. But he told me that when it was time for him to find a spouse, a wife, he decided to go outside of culture, and he was determined that he was going to marry that person, not because of culture, but because of love. And he says, Calvin, you will remarry one day. You will find someone one day. When you do, make sure you don't do for culture. Culture is important. Culture is something that's very, very valuable to me. Something that I hold dearly, to the point where I wear this this bracelet.
The colors of your country.
Current colors of my country. I'm a very proud Caribbean man, very proud Black man. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just picking someone because of a specific culture. I was picking someone because I really care about this person. I love this person. I want this person to be I wanted to be stricken by them. And I felt like with you, that was the case.
It's the blended mix. Hey guys, it's the blended mix.
Blended families mix it up. Stronger together, we fill our cup. From ancient times to present day, blended families are here to stay. We're not second class, we're a house of love built to last.
Hey guys, welcome to the Blended Mix podcast. Again, this is Calvin and Meg Belfon, and we are so glad that you're here with us today.
We are especially excited to talk about our love story today. We're going to talk about how we met and dating, what that was like.
Yes.
And our wedding.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Best day of our lives.
It's going to be really cool. This is podcast number 3?
Yes, it is.
I still can't believe that we're doing a podcast. This is something that we've talked about, stuff that we've dreamed about for a very long time. And it's here. It's happening.
Yeah, we're doing it. I'm just excited that we got past our initial recording and we're actually getting to talking about our love story. And I keep holding my breath because we're so busy. We decide to start something. I'm always kind of worried that we'll start it and then we won't finish it. But we're not letting that hold us back. We are just jumping in here and we're doing this.
If you haven't, if this is your first time listening to us, I want you to go back a couple podcasts before this where we talked about some of the goals and the dreams that we had for the coming year. And one of those things was actually starting a podcast. And so this is why this is all happening, guys. We wrote it down. We decided we were going to do this. And it's happening. If you want a shameless plug here, if you want to check that out, we also have a guide to help you jumpstart some of the things that maybe it's in your heart. Got to get it on paper. Got to put it in the calendar. Yeah. We have a Create Your Vision guide that tells you how to do that. So shameless plug, check it out.
I mean, how are your New Year's resolutions going? Not working out? Well, we have a method that really works well for us, and it's not too late for you to grab it and get into it.
That's right. Get into it. It's also not pressuring. It's also one of the things you can start it at any time. So check it out. But today, we're going to talk about our love story. And I want to tell you something. This lady is looking fine today.
Thank you. You look handsome. I think sometimes still 5 years in, I look at you and I just can't believe I got so lucky and we get to do this thing together.
I feel the same way. Totally feel the same way.
And I think it took us some time. It took me a lot of time to kind of figure out what I wanted in a partner. And so I guess I'll start out with saying that I was a single mom for almost 10 years before we got married. And those years were really good years because I needed to heal. I needed to be able to process what had happened not just in my first marriage, but, in my upbringing, which I think healing is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
But I really needed that time. Someone told me to take that time, and they also said that one day, just take your time, heal, do the things that you really love to do. One day you'll look over and you'll see someone running parallel to you, and it'll feel peaceful. So follow the peace. First, follow your passion, and one day you'll look over, you'll see that person. It'll be peaceful, it'll be right. And that's really what my experience is in dating you.
Yeah.
I was pursuing my passions, traveling the world, working hard, and you and I, our lives were running parallel for about 6 years before we started dating.
Yeah. Yeah. Babes, guys, I don't know if you see what's happening here, but my gorgeous wife is literally bringing up stuff here that before we even dated, started dating, I think it's important for you to realize the preparation that was involved in us meeting each other, that I feel like if we had shorthanded that preparation, we probably would have jacked up the whole meeting together thing, because it's important. I don't know where you might be in the journey, but it's important that before you find that partner, that you take care of yourself. You find ways to heal. You find ways to discover your passions again, because we both came from situations where we're coming from previous marriages, and those are hard previous background baggages, if I may say that you're bringing to the table. And so if you don't take time to heal, you don't take time to process, you will literally take some of that stuff with you into your next, and you don't want to do that, especially if God has something prepared for you. You don't want to mess it up. And for me, I felt like I received similar advice where I was told to take time for yourself, take time to heal. So on my side, what I did is I sought therapy. I got some therapy. I started taking care of myself. I started going to the gym. I had some good relationships, some good friends in my life that helped me with some of the way that I viewed myself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Even the way that I dressed, because I wasn't just wanting to start preparing for that other person that I will meet someday, but I wanted to feel good about myself. I wanted to become comfortable in living with me. And so I think that preparation piece before you start is really important.
I think you could get into this more maybe in another episode, but I think it's
deep stuff.
It's really important. What you're saying and talking about is something that men sometimes have a hard time talking about. For you, you came out of a lot of dysfunction. Both of our first marriages were dysfunctional. There were ups and downs, right? But ultimately, they really broke down. And what happened with both of us, but in different ways, is also those previous relationships broke us down as individuals. For you, you'd been so broken down and had gone through such an intense amount of gaslighting and verbal abuse that there were things that your mom had to actually remind you about. And again, I think it's something that we can talk about, but it's something that men often don't talk about.
Yeah.
Women, we talk about some difficult things we've been through in the healing process, but it's hard for men to talk about that.
Yeah. Another podcast.
Yep. So here we are. I became a single mom while still living in Japan. I end up back in the States, and I pick Denver, Colorado to move to right around the same time that you were moving to Denver, Colorado. Of course, neither of us knew each other at that time. I started attending the Potter's House Church of Denver, and, back in the glory days. And you were a pastor there on staff. I didn't meet you. I didn't know you. God kind of, I think, had our paths be separate for a couple years because it was such a large church and the most culturally diverse church in Denver. And I sought that out because I wanted that. I wanted my daughter to grow up around people that were different than her. I didn't want her to grow up in a bubble and like controlled environment like I wanted to expose her to everything. And so I sought out the most diverse place I could find, rented an apartment 2 blocks away from it. And I was there every day. Every time the doors were open, I was in a class. I was in the young adults group. I was in everything. I was in the children's ministry, which is how I met your kids before I ever met you, years before I met you. So I was just very involved and I was serving. I had gotten the advice to serve so that I wouldn't become tunnel visioned on my pain or what I was going through. Yes, it was important to heal and I was going to therapy, but it really helped me to be a part of a community where I was serving and giving and receiving.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important for us to be in a place where we're giving, not just receiving. And it helps the healing process as well. I know for me, it definitely helped the process as well. So I saw you a couple times at the church, but as you were saying, it's a big church. Never any long interaction at all.
Yeah, I saw you too. I mean, you were one of the pastors there, so but it was more like, okay.
Yeah. Nothing.
Pray for your pastor. There's another one. Pray for him. Pray for her. Pray for her. Pray for him.
Yeah.
I was actually, God actually, interestingly enough, the first few times I saw you, didn't think too much about it. And then there was a time you were just standing praying for somebody else, I think. And God said, pray for that man. He needs your prayers. And so I just started praying for you. Didn't even know what your name was, I don't think. I just thought that man needs, and God would lay different people on my heart. And so you're not the only person that happened to, but later when we were dating, we were matching some timelines up. And interestingly enough, that was around the time you were really going through a lot of betrayal and heartbreak in your first marriage.
Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, you leave.
Well, you're skipping too many things here.
Why am I skipping?
Well, you went to Uganda.
Yes. So I am involved in a foundation at our church called Hoffman Family Foundation, and we take trips to Uganda. We have an orphanage there that we support, a school that we support there. And I go there, commission the school, beautiful school, I think close to 400 kids there that we help, that we support. You go on another trip. I don't go on that trip at all. So again, a lot of parallels,
but it was like God was not allowing us to meet. In 2017, summer of 2017, I went to the same school. I didn't know you had already commissioned
it. You painted a mural.
I didn't know you were on the foundation. Yeah, I had no idea. So I walked the same dirt roads that you walked, and I painted a mural inside the school, and just in general went to serve and be part of it. I took my sister along, and I was part of a whole team. You usually prayed over the teams that went. But my team...
Probably the only team that I did
was
not
the
do
only
that.
team you didn't pray for. Was another pastor in the church that prayed over us before we went. But it was like, there's just so many little, pieces that were moving. And then, then I moved to Nashville in 2018. Right before I moved to Nashville, we actually met in the halls of the church, and we would say hi to each other.
Yep.
I did feel like your third set of spiritual parents were kind of hinting at me dating you because they talked to me about you just casually. They told me that Pastor Calvin is divorced, and I'm like, oh, and but I think, they were mentioning, you're going through the whole single dad thing because they knew I'm a single mom. And I'm like, okay. So, we would say hi to each other. But I was in the middle of building a business that was doing really well. We were collaborating with Fox Business and the Magnolia Journal and Vogue in France. And so I moved to Nashville to hopefully with the end game of starting in a brick and mortar. Like I've said previously, I was super into business, so that's what I was going after. So I bought a house in Nashville and I moved there in 2018.
Yeah. I'm a single dad now, doing the single dad thing, and also doing something that I started doing when I moved to Colorado is that I started blogging a lot, started talking about minimalism. I was a minimalist fanatic, getting rid of stuff, decluttering
Yes.
your home, decluttering your mind, decluttering different aspects of your life. Just edit. Focus on the things that really matter. And so one of our mutual friends approached me and said, "Hey, Calvin, we have a women's collective and you'll be an awesome guy to do a master class on decluttering. Women need help with decluttering." And I was like, okay, I could help with that. And then she set up a Facebook at the time because you were in Nashville. She set up a Facebook Live to introduce
Yeah.
the class, just to kind of whet the appetite of the
And so
participants.
just so everyone knows, like I had my fingers in a whole lot of pies at this point, so I was building a business, but I had also co-founded a virtual women's conference before COVID, before that was even a necessity. And we had hosted a couple events where women from all over the world actually tuned in for a regular women's conference. We had breakout sessions, everything.
Yeah.
So in 2019, early 2019, we wanted to have some master classes throughout the year,
Yeah.
not just during the conference, for women to watch, get connected, and plugged in. So yes, that's how you came up. Our mutual friend knows both of us, and she got you in. I thought that was awesome.
Then she sets up the Facebook Live to kind of like introduce the class to the women, kind of like those teaser type of thing. And some reason, somehow, she's not able to make it. I don't know if she was sick, lost her voice, something. So she set it up where Meg will
She
be
wasn't able to
make
make
it. So Meg is the replacement. And I was like, yeah, I remember Meg from Potter's House days, that type of stuff. Yeah, no problem. So here comes a Facebook Live. We are talking about minimalism. We're talking about decluttering. Again, whetting everyone's appetite for the class. Really talking.
Yes, and I was interviewing you.
Yeah, you were interviewing me.
I was asking you a lot of questions. I had needed to pivot pretty quickly. As I was interviewing you, though, it just felt like we were having a really great conversation.
A really great conversation.
I mean, yeah, it was nice.
Very nice. I the whole time I'm thinking to myself, oh, how come I never noticed this girl before? She's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Is she looking at me? I mean,
Yes,
I'm glad I'm a black man, because if I could have turned red, I would have turned red on the Facebook Live, but I did not. After the event, after the Facebook Live, guys, I went back and looked at that Facebook Live multiple times, looking for hints, looking to see if she was looking at me, if she was like, you know what I'm talking about, if there was some kind of connection there, because I totally felt a connection there.
Yeah, so I have to admit, I already thought you were really cool and I liked you. I just didn't think there was any chance that you would date me.
I felt the same way.
And I even, around that time, I actually flew to Florida for a weekend, and I told a really good friend of mine that I like this guy, but he's back in Colorado. But before I told her that, she said, Meg, I've been praying for you about a husband, because at this point, it's almost like, I've been single for years and my friends are praying. And I'm like, I'm fine, guys. But she said, I've been praying about a husband for you, and God's been showing me some things. I said, oh, really? I said, well, there isn't really anybody. I mean, there's this guy back in Colorado that, he's a single dad, with 4 kids. I don't think he's ever going to date me, though. Like, he's a long ways away, and he's a pastor, like, and I'm not. Yeah, that's a different world than the one I'm in. And she said, well, the one thing the Holy Spirit said is that it's somebody that's been in your life for a long time. And I was like, what? Which you had been in my life. You had been parallel to me for a long time in my church. And I just didn't really think about it at that time.
Yeah. And I think that for me, I had the same hesitancy, probably more than you did, because I was the guy with the 4 kids. You only had one, you had Emma. I was the guy with the 4 kids. I was the guy who financially didn't feel like I was there, because after you've been through a divorce, if you've ever been through one, it kind of messes you with a lot of different things, mentally as well. And then the other thing too is I had never dated outside of my race. And so finally there was this large gap of distance. Like, this girl is all the way in Tennessee. I'm in Colorado, like Denver. How is this going to work? So I remember
a lot of reasons not
like
to date
stacking
each other.
on, not to date her at all. I'm like, no. I was like, oh man, I feel attracted to her, but how is this going to happen? It's like, no, this is just, me. So I kind of, after that initial, I think that was around January that we did the mastermind. We talked for a little bit, and then everything just went silent for several months.
Yeah, I spent the summer in Europe that year, doing a lot of, different, my own things. You were living life over here.
I mean, I had several conversations with different people about different things, the 4-kid thing, the finance thing. But this one conversation I had with someone who actually wasn't even a longtime friend, someone I just met, talked to me about his experience, an Indian guy, his experience of, with Indian culture, you date within your culture. Even within Indian culture, there's subcultures that you don't date out of that, you marry within those things. But he told me that when it was time for him to find a spouse, a wife, he decided to go outside of culture, and he was determined that he was going to marry that person, not because of culture, but because of love. And he says, Kelvin, you will remarry one day. You will find someone one day. When you do, make sure you don't do for culture. Culture is important. Culture is something that's very, very valuable to me, something that I hold dearly, to the point where I wear this this bracelet.
The colors of your country.
Current colors of my country. I'm a very proud Caribbean man, very proud Black man. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just picking someone because of a specific culture. I was picking someone because I really care about this person. I love this person. I want this person to be I wanted to be stricken by them. And I felt like with you, that was the case. When I set eyes on you, and again, fast forward a little bit because this podcast could be pretty long. Meg comes to Colorado to visit her brother in Colorado Springs, drives all the way up to Denver, which is about an hour if you don't live in Colorado. It's
on
about
a Sunday
an hour.
morning.
On a Sunday morning.
After I had gotten to my brother's house around 2 a.m., I got up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. and drove up to Denver because I had to be in the house of the Lord.
Come on, somebody.
I wanted to be around my people. I was hoping I'd see this guy that I kind of had a crush on, but, I wanted to be there. I was Ruth going to lay at the feet of Boaz.
Come on,
okay?
Come on, somebody.
Yeah, that was October 2019.
She comes to church. She sits a couple rows behind, where she always sat, by the way.
Yeah, I always sat there.
And then after church, through some series of events, I walk into the sanctuary after I chickened out and says, this is not meant to be because of all the reasons which I have already outlined. But she's there. I go up to her while she's speaking with one of her friends, and I just very boldly, because guys, sometimes you just got to be bold. Okay, if you're a dude out there, You see the girl you like, say something. I went up and I said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And she's like, oh. I just literally interrupted
You
that
pulled me away from
pulled
my
her away from her conversation. And I said, would you like to go out and have coffee with me tomorrow? And she responded by saying,
well, if you weren't going to ask me, I was going to ask you.
come on, somebody. Come on, somebody.
Because I am an independent woman. And I was like, if this guy's too shy to ask me out, there's no harm in me asking him.
I wasn't shy anymore. We went out the next day at a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. And not for 30 minutes, not for an hour. We spoke for 3 hours.
Yeah.
We talked about life. We talked about kids. I mean, we just right away. Some things you probably don't want to talk on the first day. We were talking about it on the first day. And I don't recommend that, but sometimes it is what it is, man. And if you have this really connection with this person.
We clicked.
We clicked.
I remember thinking, is this what people have talked about? Like, this is how it feels when it's the right one? But at the same time, I'd been single for a long time, had a couple relationships that didn't work out, so I did not put too much stock in it. I didn't have this angel, this voice from heaven saying, this is your future husband. There was nothing like that, but it felt, we clicked.
Yeah, we clicked. We went on a second date because you were here in Colorado for a short time.
Yeah.
In the mountains, I believe, somewhere in the mountains. Yep. Longer talk again. And here we're talking about some of our dreams, goals. Mm-hmm. I discovered that, not discovered, but I already knew that Meg had a passion for business. And even though I'm a pastor, been doing this for a long time, I also had a business mind inside of me that just clicked with that. Like, oh my gosh, this is cool. I could see something being built here together with our kids. It's just like
yeah. I remember on that second date in the mountains, being across from you, seeing your eyes light up when you were talking about business, thinking just this thought in my mind, just an observation, I could really build something with this man. And there were little building blocks like that kept building in my mind, little I don't know if you call them green flags, or a lot of green flags. That conversation was great. We also talked about race, interracial dating. That's, you don't just date somebody outside of your race and culture and just ignore it. We
talk about the difficulties that we will possibly face.
Yep.
Family difficulties, difficulties outside of our family.
Yeah. I knew I was honest. I remember you asking me, how would your family feel about you dating a black man? And I took my time answering you, and I was honest that I have family members who are racist who won't like it. Mm-hmm. But I don't base my life decisions on, family members' opinions. Yeah. That's the key thing there.
Yeah. And I think for me, that was something that was important. And that honesty really helped me. And it's funny because I wasn't just expecting the pat answer, oh, everything will be fine. They all will be accepting. I really appreciate you letting me know up front, hey, there are some people who will be okay with this, and there are some other family members who will not be okay with this.
Right.
And I really, that was helpful for me, for sure.
Yeah. I think a hallmark of our entire relationship was the honesty.
Yeah.
Where we just, you do present yourself in your best light in many ways as you're dating, sometimes even without trying to, but you and I were really honest with each other the entire way through.
Yeah.
So your honesty that night was, all right, so I'm going to say this the way I remember it. So this is great. I like you. We've had a really good time. But I have led a lot of missions trips over the years. And I'm where is he going with this?
Oh, boy.
I've led a lot of missions trips over the years. I've taken a lot of teams of people, which you have. You've done hundreds and hundreds of people. You've done Israel trips. You've done all the things. And he says to me, I see people getting really excited while they're on a mission trip, and they want to make all these changes, and they want to, come home and live a different type of way because of how they've been impacted on a mission trip. Well, when they get home, it only takes about 2 weeks for them to just
And it
go
is
back
true,
to normal.
friends. It is true.
That is true. He said, so I think what we should do is we've had a good time, but now you should go back to Nashville and we should just not talk for 2 weeks. And you should see if this is something that you really want.
Worst decision of my life.
No, I think it was okay.
I almost died, friends. Not being able to have any contact with this woman here. Because at that point, there was something in me that just felt that this was right. That this woman needed to be in my life. And not being able to talk to her because of some missionary thing, I felt like I was like in the valley of the shadow of death. It was hard. It was
for
hard.
me, though, I did spend a lot of time praying.
Yeah.
During that time that we didn't speak, I went home back to Nashville. And, I did think about the things that the yellow flags, as they say. He does have 4 children. My life would change a lot. And you were not aware of this, but as soon as a couple people in my closest circle, and we did not tell anybody outside of that, but there were some key folks that knew you really well, knew me really well, found out that we had gone on a date. There were 3 different people that warned me about your ex and how highly difficult this could be because of the way I could just encounter a lot of challenges. They said, Kelvin's amazing. You won't find a better man. His children are sweet. His children are great. But you would be upset with us. You would feel really blindsided if we did not warn you that his ex will make life very, very difficult for you. I just thought, everybody loves me eventually. I'm going to be friends with her. It's going to be fine. No, they were right. They actually, they were all right about that. Yeah. But that time I had to pray about this. There was a peace in my heart as I prayed. I did have some concerns. I knew that, this could be difficult to be this big family, when I've been a mom of just 1 kid.
Yeah.
And the twins were only 5 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So they were really young.
Yeah.
And they did need me a lot at first,
Yeah.
So as I prayed, though, I did have that time, which is so unlike me. I'm a quick start. I just jump into things. That whole space did give me time that I've gone back to that even when things are difficult now and have over the past few years at the confirmations that God gave me during that time. Yeah. So it was a good thing.
Yeah. And after the 2 weeks, of course, we started talking again. And then I had to figure out a way to see this woman. Again, she's in Nashville. So it's not like we can have dates
right
in a consistent basis. So I remember the first time I flew to Nashville, I stayed in Nashville for less than 24 hours. It was like in and out real quick.
Yep, you got a hotel. You came in on an afternoon after dropping off the kids and flew back out Saturday morning. Yeah, came in on a Friday evening and flew out on a Saturday morning.
Probably the fastest trip I've ever taken.
Yeah.
But a lot of this was based on the fact that, I had 4 kids, Meg had a daughter, and the approach that we take, which for us, we felt that this was the right approach, but you have to determine what's the right approach for you. We felt like we wanted to figure out this dating thing with us first before we introduce the kids and kind of like protect the kids first and make sure that we were okay first. Yeah. And so I was flying, I flew out. The kids had no idea. I dropped them out of school and I was gone, came back, and man, it was fast. And we did this for about 5 months. 5 months, 6 months.
About 5-6 months in.
I flew there another time again, did the same thing. It was a little bit longer. Then you came here.
Then you came several more times. You came in January, you came in February, and then in March. And then I flew out here and we got the kids together. By that time, by Christmas, we were saying I love yous and we knew we were going to get married.
Yeah. I was gonna lock this up, guys.
When you
I was
came to
gonna take
Nashville
this
that
off
first
the
time,
market,
and
guys.
we kissed the first time. We were dating like a month before you kissed me for the first time. So this was all like new to me. I was used to, I don't know, just a different type of dating experience. And so for you, you were just really respectful. For me, that was really cool. But by the time Christmas came, we knew we were getting married.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew
Take
we
this
knew
off
this
the
was
market, guys. You don't need 3 years to figure this thing out. This is just
it.
my
One of the
opinion.
things that you did before we even introduced the kids to each other, we started this about a month and a half into our relationship. We started going through a blended family premarital counseling course
Yeah.
for two people who
Yeah.
have kids. One of them has kids, and it had us talking about our baggage, our fears.
Yeah.
It was preparing us
Yeah.
that our kids would,
Yeah.
even if they were excited about us dating, because our kids were really excited
Yeah.
about us dating, all of them, and
Yeah.
they got along instantly
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
But we were adjusting our expectations as we were going along, that this is going to take time.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
should give our kids time.
Yeah.
Not that they really got that much time, because the pandemic hit
Yeah.
in 2020. And then we got married several months sooner than we planned, because we just said, we're going to just lock this in.
Yeah.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. So we introduced the kids in March.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to the preparation part again, because you have a tendency to hit on that again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really helped us to do some reading, to listen to some experts, because there are some issues, landmines people call them, in the blended family, that if you go in blindly, it will hit you hard. And I think for us, we started reading books on blended family, things like that, so that we knew, hey, this situation, different things like that. So I think it's important, the education part, and there are some resources out there, and eventually we'll talk about that if you can get your hands on those things, it makes it easier. It doesn't go away. It just makes it easier, because I think this blending a family, or even a family in general, even if you're not blending a family, I think it's important to get some tools under your belt, because life hits. No matter who you are, where you are, life happens. And it makes it a little bit easier when you know what to do. You grab this life vest because, I heard about this. And I know for us, it really helped us, especially when you have kids. It just, you need that support.
Yeah.
So
we spent as we were dating, we were working. We had fun. We had some really fun dates, especially when there was a time where I flew out in April without Emma on a kind of a quick weekend, just the way you would sometimes fly out. You usually were the one flying out to see me, but I came out and saw you. We had some key dinners with people that cared about us, loved us, and we had some fun. But a lot of the time we were dating, we were also working and doing hard, inner work and preparation work.
We had some long conversations about conversations about discipline, who will discipline the kids, what is your view on this, what is your view on that. I think it's important to at least have a conversation. You may not have a unified agreement about what you will be doing, but at least don't be naive to not have those conversations, to know, okay, where does this person stand on this? Where does this person stand on that?
I think we should do another episode. People can tell us if they want us to do this, with top 6 best things that we learned during that time.
Yes. I think
because I want to talk even more about that, because there's things that we learned then that that are still helping me.
Yeah. I go up there for friends, and I surprise her.
Yes, you did.
I speak with her sister who lives with her at the time, and even to Emma at the time. I speak to her brother who lives in the Springs, and I say, hey, I would like to ask Meg to marry me. They're like, yes. I say, here's the plan. I go up there. She doesn't know, knock on her door. get on my knees the old-fashioned way, and say, "Hey, I want to lock it in. Lock it in."
Yeah, and I said yes.
It was one of the best
Yeah.
day of my life. I mean, it's
You know, I'm going to bring something up that I've actually haven't brought up in maybe a
boy.
long time. No. This is good. That proposal was beautiful. I wanted something, like I wanted a whole surprise like that. But, you know, you kind of unofficially asked me to marry you in April when I was visiting you. We were sitting on the couch. We were watching Maid. It was this woman's black hair care journey. Yeah, I don't even
I
know
remember
if you
that.
remember this.
Yeah,
We're
self-made.
just sitting on the couch, holding hands, and you're like, "Will you be my wife?" And I was like, "You're not proposing to me, are you?" And you were like, "Oh." Oh, I don't know if
I
you
do
were.
remember that now.
But I know you didn't have a ring or anything. You were
No,
just
no.
well, you were just saying, "Will you be my wife?" And then I was like, "Are you proposing to me?" I mean, I will, but so I mean, yeah, there was like the unofficial proposal and then the official one. So yeah, we got engaged in May.
Yeah. Sells a house, drive them here to Denver.
You
We
flew
find
back
find
to
a
rent
place
a
to
car.
stay.
Yeah, rent a truck and drive me back to Colorado. You really, we're having that high value. So all the way through, you had high. You know, you're a high value man, and so you came in to rent a truck and help me. You know, load everything up. We had a little crew of helpers, and you drove all of my stuff back to Colorado.
Yeah.
And you even found a place for me to rent month to month until we could get married. Yeah. But then we decided to get married in July.
Got married in July. And it's, still pandemic, so we could only invite a few people to come to our wedding. Just a very small handful of people who
It
are
was
really
the best
close.
day ever. It was
For
really
sure,
beautiful
for sure.
because every person there really believed in us. We would have wanted to have more people. We couldn't. But the few that could come, it was like their energy of love and support was next to none. And during the wedding venue process that I was in the middle of in June, and I'm thinking I'm picking a venue like 6-9 months from now, a year from now, whatever. We were not thinking we would get married in July until it started making sense to do that. But I remember one night you said, "Well, babes, like if you could pick any venue, like where would you pick?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's easy. I would get married at the St. Vrain in Longmont. I did some modeling there. I did a shoot there way back in the day. Yeah. It's the best venue I've ever seen. It's amazing."
Yeah.
And you said, "Well, why don't you reach out?"
And you did.
I did. I reached out. Everything was closed because of the pandemic. But I got an email back that said, "Meg, I know who you are. I just saw you on TV when I was in Mexico." I was thinking maybe she remembered me because of some shoot that I was involved with 303. But she said, she'd seen our, business special back with a business that I'd co-founded. And she said, "Of course you can come. Come, we're shut down, but you can come see. I want to meet your fiance." So that Sunday, we were on our way to meet the owner of the St. Vrain, and she was so generous. It kind of makes me emotional, but because there's no way that the venue would have actually been inside of our budget.
Right.
But they made that possible, and we got married there. Yeah. So I actually, for me, a dream venue.
Yeah.
It was just incredible the way it all came together.
Yeah. I think for me, the actual wedding itself was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Having our friends there, painting on the canvas. We have a beautiful canvas. You can always go see our wedding video on our YouTube channel. But for me, one of the most beautiful things was our family blending together. I felt like that day it wasn't a wedding between two people, but it was a wedding with 7 people. Mm-hmm. We were very intentional in making sure that our kids were included in the wedding ceremony. So I read vows to Emma, you read vows to my 4 kids. That to me was extremely meaningful.
Yeah, we
It
found
was
a way
very
to.
special to bring them in.
They were crying.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
whole moment. And I
Yeah.
think what made it really intimate and so special for our family is because of, kind of how intimate the setting was. They
Yeah.
could feel what they were feeling.
Yeah.
They were just hugging us. They were like happy, laughy, crying. It was so fun to see them like just feeling all the feels. Like it's even when I look back at the photos, seeing them feel all
Yeah.
the feels.
Yeah.
It's just very meaningful
Yeah.
because that's how it did feel to me too. Like this isn't just, I'm not just marrying a man, like this, we're a whole family coming together. And it was really special that, am I correct in that your bio for our, I think of our kids as our kids, but it was the first wedding they had been to was yours?
I think
Our
so.
wedding?
I can't remember.
I feel like the older kids have told me that's the first wedding they'd ever been to. I believe Ethan was like, yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen anyone get married, and it's my dad getting married. And
Yeah.
it really impacted him in
Yeah.
a big way. All of them. It impacted all of them in a really
Yeah.
big way. So it was a beautiful thing. And back then we talked about putting a wedding checklist together that we could share with blended families. I still think we should do that. But that was, that was the beginning. I think the one thing I would actually do differently is we had the most beautiful honeymoon on earth. I didn't even know a honeymoon could be so special and meaningful
Yeah.
and peaceful. We just went on our honeymoon and it was amazing. But I think if I had everything to do with, I would have booked our flight to leave maybe 2 days later, and I would have spent the following day with our kids
Yeah.
because they were really young. The twins were only 6 years old. Everybody is under 13. Nobody's a teenager yet. They don't even, what is happening? Like, this is so much, there's so much emotion here. And then immediately we're gone.
Yeah.
And we're flying somewhere, and they don't have a connection point with us again. So there's part of me, like, and people will say, when you get married, you put your spouse above your kids. That, it just gives a skewed, like it's partially true, but it's partially untrue. You just make sure that you're in harmony, and sometimes, you can't be, but of course you and I are in harmony.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've made sure to put our marriage at, a very high priority. And we put our kids at a high priority. For us, it's not either or.
Yeah.
We really do this both and.
Yeah.
Our kids really matter to us.
Yeah.
We get mad at them. They get mad at us. Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
Our family's not perfect. But man, our kids matter.
Yeah, it does. And I think that, initially we said our love story, but I think it's also the love story of our kids, our family's love story, because throughout the whole process, there have been times when we've like, okay, how do we make sure that we protect the kids? Okay, when do we bring the kids in to make sure they meet each other? How do we make sure do we include them in the wedding? How do we make sure? We've been very intentional along the way, because when you're blending a family, I think sometimes the mistake that a lot of couples make is the flip side is that they focus on each other, and then the stepdad doesn't have a relationship with the kids, or the stepmom doesn't like the kids, or whatever. And sometimes there's different reasons for that. But I think that if you, along the way, you're making intentional, whether it's activities, whether it's one-on-ones, whether it's including them in the wedding, because it matters. I felt like when I was marrying you, it wasn't just you, it was you and Emma.
Right.
And so
I was a package deal and you were a package deal.
So
I was, not when I would pray for you, I would pray for Ethan. I would pray for Eliana. I would pray for Elias. And I would pray for Evika. It wasn't, oh, I'm falling in love with this man and he's so wonderful.
but these
It's
4 kids.
Right. It wasn't like I was separating, you guys. It was like, even if we were dating and we weren't even seeing each other's kids for the first 6 months, they were very much a part of our
Yeah.
conversations and they were very much a part of our consideration and what we were
How
doing.
would this going to affect
we
them?
We didn't want to mishandle them. Now,
Correct.
have we done everything perfect? No. I think if all things considered, it would have been great to give them a little more time to get used to the idea that, dad and mom are getting married. For Emma, mom's getting married. For your kids, dad's getting married. Because your kids basically had from May to, well, they knew about me in March, but they weren't, when I moved to Denver, the top of June, they had, and then we got married the end of July. They had like 6 weeks of spending a lot of time together, but that's not a long
lot.
time.
Correct.
So it would have been ideal. So I think even sharing that, we want to share some things that we wish we would have done differently and some things that we're really grateful we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got married and now we've been doing this for 5 years. And we've got lots more to share, but that's the beginning of it all.
Yeah. And I think for me, as I reflect back on this whole thing, I just want to speak to some people out there who might be kind of like hesitant. Because sometimes, man, life could hit you hard, whether it's through a divorce, whether it's whatever it might be. I don't know. Everyone has different journeys. And your heart is broken and you feel like, man, can I love again?
Was all of that wasted?
Was it wasted?
My 20-year marriage, my 5-year marriage, my 10-year marriage. Was it all wasted? Did I make a huge mistake? Where did I go wrong?
Maybe you had kids when you were young, and again, but you feel like, can I? And I just want to encourage you. Yes, you can love again. Obviously, as we shared earlier, take some time to find, to get help, whether it's you counseling, whether it's you finding a passion, whether it's you
So good.
doing different things that you need to do to make sure that you are comfortable being with yourself, that you understand that you don't need someone to make you better. I think that is important for me to say. But to also understand that, man, don't let a race thing keep you from finding love. I know it almost did for me. Don't let, I don't have enough money keep you from finding love.
Right.
Don't let a setback, oh man, I had kids when I was 18, 19 or whatever. My mom had me when she was young.
Yeah, your mom was 16 when she had
Don't
you.
let something hold you back from finding love. You deserve to be loved again. And you have something that you probably are able to give to someone as well. So that's something that I think is important that needs to be said, because so many people are caught up because they've been hurt for whatever reasons it might be, and I know for me, you just feel like I am not worthy to be in a relationship again, and that's a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. And don't believe the lie that whatever, if you were married before or you were in a long-term relationship, you invested years into someone else. Don't believe the lie that that's wasted or that was all a mistake or it's all a wash. A businessman in business could be in business for 20, 30 years and then go bankrupt because something happens like a global pandemic. When he gets back on his feet, his business is rolling again, he's successful, he's learned, he's overcome, he or she. When someone in business has, on the other side of a bankruptcy, they're going on, they're, crushing it again, they don't say, I've been in business for 5 years, the years before I went bankrupt don't count. No, they've been in business for 35 years, not just the years after the bankruptcy, after the failure, whatever that is. They've been in business that whole time. And you have years of experience behind you, even if past relationships have failed. Between Kelvin and I, we have 35 years of marriage experience. 35 years. 35 years, baby.
That's a long time, man.
Including the time we've been married.
Yeah.
It's a long time. We learned a lot from our previous marriages, and good, bad, whatever, everything in
Good,
between.
bad, and the ugly.
Marriage
Yeah.
is weird, hard,
Yeah.
and can be wonderful. We have found out
Yeah.
in our second marriage how wonderful it can be. So just don't discount the past. Don't discount that. It's not wasted. All of that you'll learn from, you'll heal, and you'll move forward wiser. You'll move forward more compassionate.
Yeah.
You'll move forward. Yes, you've got baggage when things fail relationally. Yes, that's true. But when you heal, you actually have so much more to give,
Yeah.
and so much more patience and wisdom and maturity.
Compassion.
That really benefits the next season that you're going into, whatever that's going to be for you.
The next season.
It's the next season. Get ready, baby. Get ready.
Get ready.
And if you're already in it, enjoy it. We're about to get off this podcast and enjoy ours. Okay? Okay, babes. Is there anything else you want to say?
Thank you for being with us. Again, we're cheering for you, sending virtual hugs out there. We want to let you know that your blended family journey, your blended family experience is not second class. It is not some kind of step thing. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. God is healing, and God is redeeming, and God is making all things new for you. If you have kids, for your kids as well. We love you, and we're praying for you.
Amen.